Welcome. Sorry for the delay. We didn't realize that when we set out our program, we actually set it to start at 3:30, and so that everybody could kind of come out and meet and chat and all that good stuff. So welcome everybody to PitchItTO at the ICBE. So we're pretty excited to be here today. We were asked by to see if we would be able to come in and run one of our events, and we thought this would be a great opportunity to expand and learn more about the community, but also get OPN into the environment to see how we can all work together. So we're really excited and glad to be here. If you guys are into the social twittering mode, we'd love for you guys to follow us, post any pictures. We love all the social feed and love that we can get. It always helps out what we're doing, helping startups get the branding that they deserve to. So please feel free to do that. How many people here are actually startups? A startup. You're going to pitch your business, you're brand new, you're looking to do something in the environment. How many of you? A couple of you? Well, one of the things you guys can do that we just created is we created a Slack group for startups. And the whole idea behind this is that in the community of all the startups that we've helped over the last 3 years, we want to be able to expand that and be able to help each other on Slack by posting questions, comments, issues, things that they need help to resolve. And we will moderate this, but help at the same time. So you can join our Slack community, which is openpeoplenetwork.slack.com, and you can start conversing with other Slack members, which happen to be CEOs of other startups. And they are a variety of different startups. So it's a pretty cool space, and we're trying to continue to help with what we're doing here today. So I know we're a smaller crowd right now, but you know what? This is what always gets people excited. A few years ago, actually this is probably a long time, I'm dating myself, but about 10 years ago, actually it's probably longer, but I was in a meeting at one time, and one of the things that I really enjoyed about getting together in groups was the engagement you could create. So I walked into the meeting, and instead of shaking everybody's hand, I started giving everybody high fives. And I kind of got this look, like, what's this guy doing? And one person pulled me aside and said, hey, that's not very professional. And I kind of put my hand up and said, hey, high five. And the reason behind it was that not every day you have to be professional, but as long as you're going to be doing a good job and you're going to meet some great people, it's always worth it. So why don't you guys, just for the spirit of getting this energy going, because we're here to watch startups pitch, why don't you guys stand up and give each other a high five and converse? We're all here helping startups, so why don't a high five? All right, high fives. Yeah, I'll throw some high fives in there. I'm a fan of it. It's less engaging, and you know what? You're all smiling, and it feels pretty good. So high five to all you guys for coming out. Thank you very much. Justin? And it certainly beats the handshake. High fives, gentlemen. Gentlemen, fives. Yes, thanks for coming. Prathna, low five. So, at PitchItTO and at PitchIt and OPN, we're here to help small business startups spend less time trying to find money and more time growing their business, and that's the motto we've stuck to since we started this. We have currently run over 52 events in the last 2.5 years. This is our 38th, I believe it's our 38th event, and we're pretty excited to be here. We're fans of helping the community and grow with inside of it. And we try to bring as many great startups to the platform as we can. Here's some of the companies that... Did it black out on your screen? All right, the TV went out. So, I don't know if it's out in general. Oh, there we go. Some of the companies that we have worked with, there's a great list here, but we've probably interacted with at least 150 companies to 300 companies a month. And we've had over 120, 130 companies that have pitched in the last 2.5 years. Some of the next up-and-coming events, we have PitchItTO City Hall tomorrow night, and that'll be running at the North York Civic Center. It's our first time running there. We are sponsored by the City of Toronto, and the City of Toronto is under repair, so they've moved us to the Civic Center. So if you guys are interested to see 3 new startups pitch tomorrow night, we're always excited to have you guys there. And one of the unique things that we do have at the City Hall event is we have a showcase where we have, I believe, 15 startup companies that will be up in the upper part of the Civic Center, where you can walk around and see these startups. So if you ever want to be part of that, where you want to share your business, then feel free to send an email to info@opn.ninja, and we will help facilitate that. So our partners, we always got to thank them for all of their hard work and effort. City of Toronto, which is also Startup Here Toronto. Flow Water. Miller Thompson, Alfred, thank you. Symbol, guys in the back. The Lodge, which happens to be where we've been running our events for the last 2.5 years. Thank you. Bitcoin Fortress, Blockchain Fortress, sorry. And of course, my software company, Heartboot. So we thank all of our sponsors. Let's give them a hand because they all rock. Thank you. A little bit about myself quickly. My name's Jeffrey Potvin. I'm the owner and driver, I guess, of OPN. Created this event 2.5 years ago to help startups get more face time in front of angel investors, like the panel in front of us, but also get in front of a community that was wanting to hear what they had to talk about and figure out how they could get behind them. We provide services that help the startups get ready for funding, working with them on their pitch, and getting them exposure in social and in the markets, and we help them with their business fundamentals along the way. And these things certainly do help when they get in front of an angel investment community. Brought in a partner about a year ago. His name's Angelo Del Duca. He's at another event today, as we do spread ourselves around, getting into many startup events as we can to help. And he comes from York Angels, engineer, as well as a startup community some 20-odd years ago when he had his startup. Spent the last few years working in the government in Iraq. My team, there is Laura, right behind you. Yeah, thank you, Laura. Brian, who works the cameras, wherever Brian's over there working the cameras, he's awesome, thank you. And Katrina, who works everything else outside of those two roles. These guys have been great and key to helping us drive these driving OPN forward. So how does it work? What's the format? OPN is structured by doing and mirroring what we do at the angel groups. So we have a 9 to 11 minute pitch. We stop it at 11. The angels will provide 1 minute of feedback, critical feedback, of what they feel that they could be improved on that would impress them more. And then we'll go to the crowd for 5 minutes of Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, I will set up a mic probably in the back so you can either work around or I can walk to you. It might be easier. And you can ask questions of the startup. And these questions can vary. Just things that you're interested to know about the business. On our panel today, we have Alfred Apps from Miller Thompson. We're a big fan of Alfred, and hopefully Alfred's a big fan of what we're doing. He does participate quite often, which is great. He's an investor, a lawyer by trade, and certainly a driver in the startup community. Prathna, she's a driver. She gives you critical feedback, lots of critical feedback. And she's running and heading up Maple Leaf, Angel, MLA. Thank you, Prathna. She likes scuba diving. Okay, it's something that I couldn't remember.
Long walks on the beach.
And Gary is a York and Spark Angel member. Works in the community of startup world. Has been for many years. Certainly, we're a big fan of Gary. And he also works with one startup in particularly where he's quite locked into, and that is
Daisy Intelligence.
Daisy Intelligence. And Daisy, you guys remember, he was from, what would you guys, was Accelerate? Is that the one?
Elevate.
Elevate. They did a great thing there where they locked in some great funding. $5 million they did from an elevator pitch. So, thank you, Gary. The companies that are going to be pitching today, Hap Social, Drive Her, and Jamstack. So, if you guys have any questions, we're going to be doing a one-on-one interview just near the end of our segment with one of the companies that's in the process of raising funds right now. They are in deep dive with multiple angel groups. So if you have questions, hashtag is AskOPN, and you can post the questions while we're doing the interview so that we can ask them as well at the same time. So without further ado, we're going to have Mr. Alfred Apps come up and give us a talk on e-government before we kick off the pitches. Let's hear it. Woo!
You know, I told Jeff before the session, because normally when you're at an OPN session, you're in this jammed room on the top of the lodge. You can hardly move around. And I'm thinking, I've got so much space today, and I think the reason is there is no bar. Next time we need a bar. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I berated the crowd a few months ago about the impending apocalypse for our legacy banking system 10 to 15 years out as the millennials take control of the marketplace and as almost $1 trillion in wealth changes generations. Today I want to talk to you about what I think is an even bigger dynamic, and if you keep your eyes open, as I can do sometimes for brief periods, you might have caught an article in the paper this week about something that's going on deep in the bowels of the Government of Canada called the Digital Transformation Initiative. We always talk about the importance of innovation, how innovation drives productivity, how productivity is the key to wage growth and to per capita GDP growth. But we never talk about the fact that 1/3 of our economy is government, where productivity growth has lagged so far behind financial services, manufacturing, every other sector, because they're trapped in the legacy model of paper, lineups, Service Canada, Service Ontario. Do you know that if you want to look at a patent in this country, you have to get on a plane and fly to Ottawa? What I'm telling you is 1/3 of the economy, the last frontier, is going to start falling to digitization, to the elimination of paper, to a totally different world for the, get this, $450 billion in transaction activity that occurs between governments at the federal, provincial, municipal level in this country and citizens. And the reality is, there is no company in Canada, anywhere, that is thinking comprehensively about how we approach this opportunity. An opportunity which is going to be driven by millennial demand for better customer service. An opportunity that is going to be driven by the government waking up to the fact that under the current model, they are the victims of about $7 billion annually in citizen fraud. About politicians having to wake up to the fact that if they're going to make government more efficient, contain tax growth, and actually impact the productivity of the country, it's going to happen through the digital transformation of government and government-citizen relationships. I want to make a point to you. Something happened to me this week. I'm a lawyer. And I had a client come in to me who had a lawsuit served against him that he never knew about. They got default judgment. So all of a sudden he's being chased for several $100,000. And you know what? He had no idea what had happened. So I scouted around, found this court file, found his name on a defense. And then I asked if I could look at the court file to find what it was all about. I'm a corporate lawyer, so I don't know anything about court files. Guess what? Because it was purely a paper file and had been sent off premises to storage, it cost my client $1,400 to actually review the court file that he was the named defendant on, to get it back and get it copied and all of that kind of stuff. My point is this. Digital passports are going to be a reality in 5 years. Completely digital interface with governments from 5 to 10 years out are inevitable. The whole notion of Service Canada and Service Ontario being something where you queue up is going to be a thing of the past. And if you're into innovation, start thinking about it now. At the municipal level, at the provincial level, at the federal level. It's going to be the big opportunity of the next decade. Thanks.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you very much, Alfred.
Here, here. Sorry. Or so we hope. Or so we hope, yeah.
All right, Hap Social, you're up.
You gotta do that.
Hey. So I use this for taking notes.
That is correct.
Good plan.
I'm actually more old school. I like the pen and paper.
Yeah, I sort of do too, but it's okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Marcel Bradia. I'm the founder and CEO of Hap Social. We are a platform connecting modern generations to local curated cultural experiences. And we have set out to solve the problem of how do we get the modern generations to spend more time doing things in the real world away from screens and technology. So while today's generations actually place a high value on experiences because of the age of social media, the number one trend in art and culture this year, for example, is on Instagrammable pop-ups, which are these temporal activations that set up city to city for about a month or two and charge $30 or $40 to give people the chance to take photos with interesting objects and places that create Instagrammable moments that they can share on social media. And while it's very easy for others to consume and see people having great experiences on social media and give a funny like or comment, it's actually much harder to go and create these experiences for yourselves on a regular basis. And part of the reason for this is that the experiences economy itself is highly fragmented. And so there are various different kinds of experiences, from events to venues to festivals to attractions and getaways. And each of these have different workflows for how someone goes about finding out about it, getting them convinced, sharing with people, and actually attending. And so these experience providers end up building their own websites that each solve the problem in slightly different ways, oftentimes highly unoptimal. They leverage different booking platforms for reservations that run their back offices, and they leverage different ticketing platforms, which are all unstandardized and are not accessible in any sort of common way. In addition to this, the way that the industry markets itself is through local listing platforms. And these listing platforms are essentially news-based directories that have been created in the age of desktop. And so their business models run on ads. And by placing banners and ad slots throughout the discovery experience and maximizing how much time you actually spend reading, because that's how they collect click-throughs and monetize. And so these listing platforms are not personalized, and they don't model the workflows as someone goes through in accessing local experiences. And so this places the burden on the consumer to cut down through the noise and try to access this set of industries that is very fragmented. And so this doesn't bode well with the fact that consumption of digital for consumers in terms of their free time has surpassed 90% this year. And so consumers engage on mobile. And on mobile, this just doesn't cut it. The user attention window is really small. So because of the real estate constraints on a phone, as well as people's short interaction, attention span when interacting with it. You need to be able to take the wide content of all the different things that are happening in the local experiences economy, be able to understand those, model them in a deep, rich fashion, and spend the effort of curating down, of understanding user interest, of understanding their content, their context, in order to shove it into the small attention window that they're going to be able to give towards engaging with it. And so we set out to build a platform that's built firsthand for the mobile age in this space. And we did that by focusing around the content. So removing distractions and building out an interaction model that, not sure if the video is playing there, that surfaces the content, allows people to access it without loading time. There's a slew of techniques that we apply in order to make getting to the top 10, 20 pieces of content that matter to that user an order of magnitude easier than it is today. And so, and instead of when they find a content, like for example, like a local culture festival that currently requires them to jump off to a separate website and understand what that is about, we create mini journeys for the industry so that the consumers stay on platform, are able to understand everything that's needed for them to get to a decision to actually attend, and are not, they don't fall to a different set of experience to actually do that. And this whole model for getting really good and efficient at discovery, as opposed to getting good at interrupting it, fosters a new kind of business model. And so in the mobile age, it's not about maximizing distraction through ad click-throughs, but rather about having commerce and transactions. And so in the experiences economy, it comes down to two things. One of them is to integrate purchasing, so for ticketing and reservation platforms doing purchasing within the platform. And the second one is through a cashback model for those kinds of experiences that are more pay at the door. And so that the experience operators, instead of spending their marketing budget figuring out how to get out through social media and get to the right audiences, they give us that incentive, and we figure out by controlling the platform and optimizing it for getting to their right audience in the right way, that we can transact with them when people come in through the door. And so we put this out to the market this summer, and we attained some really interesting things. So first of all, we were able to create a scaled content curation engine where we currently take 400 events that happen a week in downtown Toronto, crunch those through, curate them, and surface them on the platform. We've also been able to create a repeatable acquisition model. So what you see for the graph down below there, the blue line is net new users on our platform for the last 6 months, and the little spikes are us doing acquisition tests to get to the right audiences. And as you can tell, in the last couple of months, we hit a breakthrough in terms of reaching our target audiences and creating an acquisition model that's repeatable, that we can scale, and we can use it to penetrate the market further. Most importantly, what we were able to see is that the retention that we're able to get on the platform for people using it was both really, really high. So we have over 20% of weekly retention onto the platform. But if you can see from the smaller yellow line down below, the users that we acquired along the way, even months ago, the platform is really, really sticky. So once people realize that they can access the industry in this way, the demand and the desire for this is there, and people stick around for weeks and months to come. Our whole model that we've been erecting with the platform is that to be of a leveraged approach to scaling. And so we don't go out and acquire event organizers or venue owners one by one. We do it through partnerships, and we do it through existing content hubs. And so, and in a similar fashion, we don't want to be a ticketing platform or a reservation platform. We want to work across the industry with existing ticketing platforms and bring on their clients and experience operators on by the hundreds and thousands. And the reason for this is that the market for experiences throughout the world is actually really, really large. Across US and Europe, for example, within just the music, sports, and film industries, that's a $46 billion market a year in digital alone. And as you expand the verticals around our art and culture and festivals and different experiences, that number grows. While there are several competitors and large dominant players in the market within different sub-verticals, it ends up that a lot of these players are actually incentivized to sell their inventory on platforms such as HAP And so with Ticketmaster, for example, they already have both the intent as well as the structures in place to revenue share on platforms such as ours that can get really good at selling the existing partnerships they have on the industry side to consumers, to whoever can figure out how to bridge that gap. And so having achieved this gateway to people's free time that we've been able to this summer, the next stage for our business is to, first of all, double down and just penetrate the Toronto market. So for us, that's applying those acquisition models that we've been able to achieve, get to 100,000 users in the local market. And it's to build out the integrations with the ticketing platforms that we've already spoken with and know that they're incentivized and willing to come on board to surface their content so that we can monetize it at scale. We know that what it takes to curate is a lot of sophistication to do that, and we have a lot of the systems in place. We've identified some really key opportunities to use AI and machine learning to take some of the things that we've done manually for those 400 events that we surface currently today and be able to scale that out across hubs and across different markets even further. Our team has deep roots in both the culture and the tech sector. So my business partner, Sergey, brings over a decade of experience from the culture sector. He's founded the Scarborough Film Festival, worked throughout TIFF, and he's acquiring and establishing partnerships throughout cultural organizations in order to scale out our acquisition on the consumer side and set up a playbook from going to market at an even higher leverage approach than we currently have today. My own background is in tech. I'm an ex-Googler. I've been at Facebook as recent as over a year ago. And I've run product on a seed company before, from seed through a really large Series A. So I know all about what it takes to take a model that works at a nascency level and scale that out into a venture-backed company. And I oversee the technical team and the execution of product. And so our vision is not only that we take this gateway that we've been able to establish to the local experience market here in Toronto, that we take that over different kinds of experiences, but we believe that the right place to do that is actually within a platform that captures use cases across discovery and commerce and messaging. And so the place that you talk with your friends and family should be the place that you actually create new experiences for yourself and get yourself out in the real world, not just watch other people experience it for themselves. So that is HAP. Thank you very much for listening today.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. We'll just, sorry. All right. We're going to turn on the mics for the three advisors. And Prathna, maybe you can start off for us.
I knew you would ask me to start first. So Marcel, I remember chatting with you about your business last time at the PitchItTO event at Lodge. My opinion is that I don't feel like that I've fully understood why you're different from, say, an Eventbrite or Universe or PicActic, I think is the other one. I often get emails from Eventbrite and Universe as well saying, here's a curated list based on what you've done in the past, etc. So if the differentiator here really is the custom aspect to it, and increasing engagement with the end user and the event organizers, how difficult do you think it will be for some of the existing players to get into that market? What I would also like to know, and sometimes angel investors like to ask about, is how have you financed to date? Have you been bootstrapping your company? If so, how much has been invested into it? And you are looking to raise $400,000 on the terms and such. I understand you maybe don't want to present it in the open. And what's a potential exit strategy, given that there are so many players in this space, potential partnership or acquisition with one of them? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll build off of that. There's a lot of people involved in ticketing and experiences and such, and what's going to prevent an Eventbrite or others to just go in and do what you're doing? So that'd be very curious to hear. And so along that lines, again, what Prathna said is, what are your real sales models? It's a small screen, so I didn't see how many users you actually have now. So I'd love to know what that is. It's like, and I'm really curious about how you truly incentivize a Ticketmaster to get onto your platform. I mean, if you've got something there and it's working and it's truly working, then that's pretty interesting. But it's, seeing all those things, and I definitely agree with Prathna. You know, anybody who wants to invest wants to know how they're going to get out of it in some way or another, and that just doesn't mean you have to sell your company, but as you know, there's all sorts of ways to exit, dividending, you know, but it's just understanding where that is, and then it's really seeing that your team is wanting to drive through walls to do all of that.
Perfect. Thank you, Alfred.
I'll just add briefly to what I've heard, all of which is stuff that I would emphasize. And maybe to put another way what you've already heard, I am trying to get really comfortable with the viability of a revenue model for this. I can see that there is one, but I can see it could pretty easily be devoured by those who control the environment, if I can put it that way. And so the differentiating barriers are really important to me that hold up the viability of what you're doing here. And I want to really, really understand that. The other thing I would say is the social experience world is evolving so rapidly that I would want to have a real sense that what we had here was not just a viable revenue model, but a durable business model, and they're different.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right, so we're going to take some questions from the crowd. Do you guys have any questions, comments, queries?
Thank you for your presentation. I thought it was very, very interesting. I'm just curious, do you have a platform similar to that you could adapt for, let's say, small to medium-sized businesses? The reason I ask is that every company that I see has a social solution, but they never execute it properly, and it never drives communities or businesses to their business, whether it be a B2C elevation or a B2B elevation. Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah, so a lot of these experience operators, in fact, are small businesses. And so a lot of their, my partner comes from the culture world, and so he's familiar with a lot of the struggles that they experience in trying to connect with the right audiences on existing social media platforms. And you're right, small businesses actually have struggled to be experts in doing that. And so that is part of the current issue for a lot of them. And so the way that we see the platform is that we actually align the business model to them by being transaction oriented and by taking the problem ourselves to figure out how to solve discovery and curation and match with the right audiences so that they don't have to. And so absolutely this becomes an answer. In fact, a lot of the partners that we talk to, one of the first questions they ask is, how can I leverage this in addition to what I'm doing with social media? If you guys have all this insight on audiences and you're capturing mindset, and what we're telling them is that that's the business model, is that we can be aligned with you instead of you having to spend that marketing budget trying to figure out yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, in your very first slide, I think you mentioned that you would enable unique cultural experiences, right? But somehow your business model doesn't seem to clearly reflect that. Okay, that's my first question. Second is, what are your key competitive advantages, as some of the other members of the panel alluded to? There are many players in this area already, right? And third is, are you really leveraging the technology stack in terms of social media for your platform? Lastly, what are the top 3 revenue streams that is part of your business model?
So I'm going to try to answer some of those I can remember. Yeah, so I'll just start with your last one there. In terms of revenue or revenue streams. Right. Yeah. So sorry. Do you mind repeating the first 2? Just because that was too many thrown all in one. Well.
Okay. Your business model doesn't clearly reflect the vision that you had set out for yourselves. Right. In terms of enabling unique cultural experience.
Yeah, so I can speak to that. Right? So basically, the way the industry works right now is that there is all this cultural activity happening all around, and for certain kinds of experiences, those are ticketed, those are reservation based, and so there's a very natural business model in facilitating those on the platform. The reason cashback was the other part of the business model is some other ones are more around showing up to that festival or event. And it's more about kind of like pay at the door. So not all the content on the platform has to be paid and has to be monetizable. So it's more a matter of enabling the scenarios that have it. And so through those two different approaches, whether it's ticketed up front or instead of them spending marketing budget on getting to people, they just set that up as commission structure. And so cashback works in the sense that you can just pay at the door when you get there. So it does have to be a paid experience. And then that money flows back right through us, as well as the cashback partners along the way.
So I guess the follow-up question to that was then, do you become your two-sided marketplace? Can you explain the experience from a two-sided marketplace on how you're curating the content to enable these people to, one, know where this is all going on, and two, when they get there, what occurs?
Sure. So on the point of curation, that is the difficulty, and I think the question was asked around defensibility and what other players have done. So I'll kind of answer that a little bit together. Platforms such as I heard Universe and PitchItTO here were platforms that there's a common gap in the market where people try to be both ticketing platforms as well as discovery platforms, and then they surface only the content that they have available immediately to monetize on. And so immediately, if you're trying to do that, you're going to have very limited supply of inventory to actually curate and match against. And so recognizing that, our hyper focus is on being able to do that across providers. So suddenly the PitchItTO, even Universe becomes partners in all of this because we focus on just the curation aspect. So there's a slew of things in terms of tagging and categorization and understanding user interest and mindset to try to do that. So yes, a lot of them try to do both. But we think the way that you tackle it at industry level is that you don't try to do that. You work with them as partners, and you really hyper-focus on being able to close that gap. It takes a lot to go from 400 events a week to showing you the 20 that you should look at. That's a problem that's worth solving.
Nope, that's great. Perfect. Thank you very much, Marcel.
Thank you,
App
everybody.
Social. Aisha, drive her. Oh, wrong slide. There we go. Do that. You want to use that?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yep, you're good.
Hello. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Aisha Addo, and I will be presenting on behalf of Driver, which I happen to be the founder and CEO of. So how many of you use a ride-sharing platform to get here today? Lyft, Uber? Amazing, awesome. How many of you have friends, daughters, sisters that have experienced or have shared their uncomfortable encounters with you before? Okay. So the ride-sharing economy is booming because we all rely on a ride-sharing platform to get from point A to point B. All right. And mainly because of its convenience, its flexibility, its reliability, and also the ability to earn for some drivers. We've estimated, based off of research, that the ride-sharing economy and market itself is up to $56 billion in revenue. And by the year 2030 is going to triple. So one of the things that we've realized, actually, is that I cannot see. Can I stand here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, perfect. So everyone wants access to affordable and convenient services. But then the problem that we have recognized is that safety for women specifically has not been a part of the equation. So these are some of the headlines that we've seen over the past couple of years. 51% of Canadian women by the age of 16 will experience some sort of a physical or sexual act of violence. And 5,827 alleged Uber sexual assaults were reported between 2012 to 2017. So if you do the math, that's 3 assaults every single day. And this could be your mom, your sister, your daughter, and in certain cases, ourselves. So the solution that we have come up with is DriveHer. DriveHer is a ride-sharing community that is designed to provide safe and empowering rides to women and people that identify as women when they're traveling from point A to point B. We're built differently because we have 3 pillars that we focus on. One is safety. So taking the same seamless approach that people are used to, but with an added layer of safety. 2 is building a community of female entrepreneurs and a marketplace of female drivers. Empowerment, because we not only empower our drivers, but we're also empowering our users to actually get behind the wheel and become drivers. Our traction so far is we did a beta app launch in March, and we got over 3,000 downloads. We have 65 drivers on our platform at the moment. We're licensed as a private transportation company, and we have insurance through Northbridge Insurance. We've been highlighted on one of the biggest media outlets in Toronto and in the States so far. Our milestones presently is we are in the process of doing our customer and product development and refining that. We will be launching officially this month in 2018. And in January 2019, we will be introducing our premium service. And then early 2019, we'll also introduce a service specifically for women that have kids that need the ride-sharing platform, but then also for parents, and also seeing that as a different marketplace for us to get into. Our go-to-market strategy is in developing key partnerships. So partnerships with wireless providers, partnerships with women in tech and business groups, also executing our market plan, which is more around social media discounts and affiliate links for people that want to be a part of the movement. Like I mentioned earlier, we will be launching our pilot this month, and also building community, so connecting with community organizations, community businesses as well, to tell them more about Driver and to encourage them to use the platform. We have an expected growth of 20% of our drivership specifically, and we get drivers by forming strategic partnerships that can actually incentivize our drivers through social media and words of mouth. Thank you so much. Through social media, word of mouth. Also, through partnerships with community organizations and community organizations and community people. And also we do host monthly info sessions specifically for our drivers as well. Our pricing module is divided in 2. So 80% of all the fares goes to the drivers and 20% comes to DriveHer. There is a breakdown of what our actual pricing module is at the moment. We've been able to land a partnership with Infinity and Nissan Canada here, where they provide access to vehicles for women that have older cars but would still want to drive with DriveHer, or people that do not actually have access to cars. Our partnership with Infinity allows them to get vehicles at cost. Our team consists of myself as the founder and CEO. We have Amber, who's a recent graduate that studied human relations, that takes care of our customer relations. We have Ahmed, that is in charge of that's our head of development, and also Roger, who's our head of security. We have a ton of advisors, but I couldn't put all of them here. So the very first one is Ms. Njeri, who is the founder of Up North Capital. Also Chris K from Multiplicity and the manager of the Infinity Lab Toronto, and also Guillermo, who is the manager at Infinity Lab Hong Kong and headquarters. So the service is done through an app. So the app is available both on Android and iOS. Some of the differentiators is, of course, we have the alternative social media sign-in. We have an in-app emergency button. So if someone is riding with us and for whatever reason there's an emergency, they can hit on that button and we get an alert in real time. We also have the ability to pre-schedule rides and also to tip and rate the drivers. Currently, we're asking for a capital investment of $500,000, but then also strategic partnerships. So anyone that feels like we're able to form some sort of a strategic partnership with Driver, we're open to that as well. The use of the funds will be going more towards human resources, marketing, and also to, of course, enhancing the app ongoing. The impact of this will be to really investing in a service that is designed specifically for women by women, but then also challenging women to really change the status quo. I am open to any questions, but I do hope that, you love the service, and once we launch this month, you urge every woman in your life to use it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Alfred, do you want to kick it off?
Well, let me start by saying, as the father of 5 daughters, I'm very intrigued. But I'm wondering. I'm trying to get a sense of how that beta went, in terms of revenue, what kind of net margin that you were able to achieve, and what kind of. This is a big, this is a cash driver business, and I'm trying to get a sense of whether the beta gave you enough to extrapolate a real projection for the business. And then I'm trying to get a sense of, well, where's that 500 going to take us relative to that kind of beta experience. The other thing I would say is transportation sharing is a scary space to be in, unless, again, you've got some barrier or differentiator. I see you've got one here that is potentially powerful. I'm just not in a position to evaluate it.
Yeah, I agree. It's intriguing, and I have 2 daughters too. So, the thing that pops to mind is, why wouldn't Uber or Lyft think about getting a subset of their drivers to do what you're doing? And so you've got to think about how to really defend against that, how you can really differentiate against that. I'd like to see, like Alfred said, where's the 500K going, what percentage is going where. So yeah, it's more of those things around the model, sales model, how to build out. It's great you've already got 65 drivers, it sounds like, in the GTA, and 3,000. Not sure if any of them are truly driving yet. It sounds like not, because you just don't have the app out there. No, I like the concept a lot. I'd just love to hear more about it.
Can I just dive in briefly before you do? Yeah, sure. Given how Uber got going, got adoption, I'd focus heavily on sororities.
Aisha, I remember your presentation at the Infinity Labs, as well as I heard you speak at NACO, and then I also used one of the Infinity cars in going to one of the events. So I was very happy with the service. I thought it was neat. It was an interesting concept, and it's a very powerful message what you're trying to do here. But only one question, and it's what Gary said, and I'm sure you've been asked this a ton of times, is how hard is it going to be for Uber to add in another feature, and you have Uber Black, Uber Taxi, Uber Her, or something like that. And you were actually on that panel with the GM Canada of Uber, so I do want to hear that answer. But good presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Do we have any questions? Yep.
Just a general comment that when you present in such a case, I would like to see, when you ask for 500,000, where is it gonna go exactly? What is the time frame? And what return you expect it to come from? What are elements of risk that your business can face? And that would give a better opportunity to the forum and to everybody when they judge about the model. So that numbers is very critical. Not only the idea, the strategy, and the plan, but how you convert it into numbers, and how the numbers are going to actually represent a stronger business case, which I didn't really see much within the whole presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question that I have is, with the 65 drivers, again, you're on a double marketplace. How did you go about finding those? You could pull the mic up a bit. How did you go about finding those drivers, and what was the experience, and are they excited to come back on the platform when it relaunches in a month?
Definitely. The drivers, we actually got, it was all word of mouth and from the press. And sometimes when other women go into Ubers and Lyft and they encounter a female driver, they tell them, hey, there is a new ride-sharing platform that's designed specifically for women coming, so hop on that. And that's really and truly how that have evolved over the past couple of months.
So do you think that in the next few months after launch, you'll be able to move this product to other cities?
Definitely, that's the plan.
And how is that going to be done? Is that a licensing model, or are you going to have to go to every city and rebuild your product for that?
We're looking at two ways. One, either the licensing, or the other way will be just to actually be there physically and like actually having a launch team that would go into different markets to one, evaluate and see how best we can get into those cities.
And on the customer side, you had 3,000 downloads. That sounds pretty impressive for your product. How did you go about that?
Word of mouth, social media. We've not spent any dollars on marketing yet. It's all been word of mouth.
So that sounds pretty amazing, because the hardest thing is to get downloads. So you were able to do all of this with word of mouth over a few months, I believe, correct? That's pretty impressive. So what are you projecting for your numbers in the next 3 months with the new launch?
That's a good question that I do not have the answer for you right now. But I would definitely have that for you soon.
Well, I think certainly that's going to be something that people are going to want to know, right? What are your targets and what are you shooting for? Especially if you're going to be raising dollars, they want to be able to see that you're hitting your targets. So I would put that into your plan for sure.
Definitely. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions? I could go on all day, but I know this isn't about me asking, but... Oh, there is? Yeah, sorry.
Thanks for your presentation. I was just wondering, as far as I recall, Uber bought a lot of demand from its market and in a way ran at a loss to build that market. So what is the plan to do that so that it scales, and is that required for a driver to scale healthily?
Definitely. So off the top of, like, from the very beginning, we recognized that we cannot compete with Uber and Lyft on dollars. Hence the reason why we're looking at strategic partnerships. So with actually brands that can actually, in a way, sort of like sponsor for our customers to get some sort of like a discount on their rides. That way we are, in a way, competing with price, but then it's also to promote other brands and businesses that focus specifically on women.
Okay, great. And how do you find yourself going to be going in a market that's been saturated by Lyft, who has now somehow found more money to compete because of the internal issues at Uber? Do you find that this is something that more of an emotional play, that you're able to get into the market and that's going to be your driving force, which I think is a good one? That it's going to help you guys move forward?
Well, yes, but then also really focusing on customer experience, which I believe that in the past has not been something that has been taken into consideration. So for us, it's more around like, you know, not just the emotional play, but like how the woman actually feels when they get into the car and like from point A to point B, how like their entire experience is. And that's going to be one of our main differentiators. And also the support that we actually provide to our drivers outside of their driving hours, because we recognize that they themselves are also entrepreneurs in themselves. So how do we provide support to them to elevate them and everything else that they do?
It's kind of like a ride safe program that you're putting together, and it sounds like it's going very well, and we're excited for your launch. So thank you very much for presenting today. Thank you. Okay, before we jump into our next presenter, how many of you guys are a startup and had the opportunity to come up and do 30 seconds to pitch in front of the community, but in front of the angels? I think there was a few people that said they were interested to do that. Yeah, come on up, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, come on up. Yeah. So the way it works is you have 30 seconds. I'm going to time it, and all you have to do is give your name, what your business is, and what you're all about, and then we'll go from there. All righty? Let me put the timer on. Give me 1 sec. All right, here you go.
Hi everyone, my name is Paul and I'm building an app called Passion Fruit. You can check us out at passionfruit.me. In a nutshell, basically it's an app that hopefully can bring a little bit more joy to people's lives and help them meet new people in a better way, people that are better for them. Instead of a vast conveyor belt of generic profiles, we want to really help people laser focus to meet the very specific people that are going to be very special for them in their lives. And we're going to do this without, I know a lot of people always
And your name is? Oh,
Paul.
Jumping, this one's loud.
Paul. Just let me finish. Yeah, that's it?
Sorry, buddy.
All right,
30
okay, well, check us
seconds.
out.
All right, man. Thank you. Yeah, give him a round, man. Give him a round. All right, you're up. Come on up. Come on up. Come on up.
Hi everybody, my name's Dean. I have an idea for an app called Down to Hang, and essentially the idea is a Tinder for social events. Now the social economy is a massive economy that we can monetize, but how about we change it on an individual to individual basis, whereby they make profiles that allow for social events, and we all have ratings on that social event, and people could sign up as they swipe left, swipe right. They can see social events. Let's say we're playing volleyball, playing tennis. My name is Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank
You're
you.
a good man. Thank you. You're up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Philip. I'm a film director, and I have a project called Severance Day that is developing right now. Last week we just closed our opening round, and later this month we're going to start pitching to producers and get A-list actors from Hollywood. And so you can check it out at severanceday.com. You can watch my latest short film there as well.
And your name is?
And my name is Philip. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you very much. All right, next up is Jamstack. Come on up.
Have you seen him pitch to you? Oh, it's cool. Yeah. He's been at York Angels. It's freaking cool. This is? Jamstack. So he's got an amp in a box. Literally straps on his guitar.
How are you? Which one? Been a while.
Here, you stand up. I don't know which one.
Doing good?
Yeah, no, do you think? Just gonna wait. She's gonna turn it on for you. See?
In person, sorry.
Oh, no worries, man. Yeah, no worries. We're good to go.
They'll do a demo. That's what's
Okay.
guitar.
Okay.
It's literally he's gonna.
So this is a product.
It's a product that straps onto the end of your guitar, and it
Oh, do you have that, or do you want this?
Actually, this is probably best because I can stand up.
Podcast purposes.
Yeah.
And a speaker.
Cool. Cool.
These are about like a really good quality.
Is it downloaded?
Here's a good pitch, like York Angels.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Yep. I'm not sure who's running it, but they pitched last month. I can't remember all the specifics of what the ask was, but I think he's had some money already. I'm almost sure he has. He's got good connections. He was a professional touring musician, so he's got some other people interested. Yeah. It was one of those where I went, oh, that sounds great.
I think I'm okay. I think so, yeah.
If I was a musician.
We'll see how this works. Check. I'm a little tall, actually, for this thing. Can I use the wireless? Yeah. Check.
Do you want help with holding a mic for you to? Well, you got the machine
At some
to do
point.
It.
But I think I'll be okay.
Okay.
I think we'll
Let
be
me
all
know,
right. It's
'cause
not
I
a
know
huge
the pitch.
dream. Right. Good to go? All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Prendergast. I'm the founder of Jamstack. And I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what I think the opportunity is in the music equipment space. And I have a fun demo for you as well, because I have one here. We're at a very exciting time in our business, and I'll be happy to share that with you guys. All right. So, starting off. So, Jamstack as a company is focusing on 4 core technologies that I don't think are being leveraged properly right now in the music equipment space. So those four things are mobile processing, so essentially using your smartphone as the brain of your device, which I know a lot of other companies are starting to do, not in the music space. Digital interfaces, which handles the audio processing so that you can use those devices. Portable speaker technology. I imagine most of us have a portable speaker, a Bluetooth portable speaker with somewhere in our house, and they're amazing. And the technology is only at the beginning of its development. So there's a lot of opportunities there. And then lastly, some software experiences. So I'm going to walk you through those things and how our first product takes advantage of those four items. Okay, so I'm a guitar player. I have a few different hats, but I'm definitely a guitar player, and this all came from my own personal frustration with trying to play the electric guitar. It is a massive pain in the butt. Amps are extremely heavy. You can't relocate them. They need power. They can't play music and play guitar at the same time because they're mid-range speakers. They don't sound good when you turn them down. Obviously, when you turn them loud, that has another host of issues. So really, I wanted to play along to music quickly. I wanted to be able to sound like the guitar players that I heard on the radio, and there wasn't anything in the market that allowed me to do that in a compelling way. So that's the problem I started off with. A lot of guitar players, I'm sure you could ask them, will tell you this pain point is something that they've all lived very intimately. Okay, so the solution. So what is the Jamstack? So the Jamstack is the world's first attachable guitar amplifier. So it actually attaches, you can see there, onto the body of a standard electric guitar. Now, it's not just, can you not see?
Yeah, it's not working.
Oh, okay. So you can't see it. That's okay, because I have one and I'm going to use it. I'll do that now. It attaches onto the body of the guitar. I'll show you in a second. It's not just the most portable guitar amplifier in the world, which it is. The whole point of the Jamstack is an experience that is incredibly addictive and versatile and just fun to use. So why don't I show you first, and I'll talk a little bit more in detail about what it's all about. Okay. So here it is. It's as you can see, it's quite small, and it's got a mechanism here that allows you to attach on the guitar, which I'll show you. And it sounds. This is an enormous room, obviously, so that's going to change how things sound. But I think you'll still find it impressive. This is not a prototype. This is a production model. We are actually already shipping these to our pre-order customers right now. So just let me get it installed. I'll show you how quickly it is. I do want to show the install procedure because it's important to understanding. So normally you'd be sitting down, and I'm just gonna, you might not be able to see this. So I've started and I'm done. So that's it there. It just snaps on to the existing strap button that's on every guitar. And thank you. And then it uses your smartphone for effects. So the one other piece here. that there's a tuner built in. This is not our software. We're not a software company yet. We do use third-party software. There's several apps on the market already that can do anything you could possibly imagine. So this app I'm using right now is called ToneBridge. It's completely free, and it has 9,000 presets of all kinds of popular music, and you can go in and edit them as you wish. However, there's almost no hardware available on the market to take advantage of it properly. So there's a massive difference there between what's available to use them and products to make it possible. So I'm going to show you what I like to do in the Jamstack most often, and that is to play along to music, where this all started. So I'm going to open up Apple iTunes, which has every song that's pretty much ever been recorded, and I'm going to synchronize the preset to the Hotel California solo as an example here. And I'll just show you kind of what that looks like. And maybe I can pull this amp. Perfect. That's way too loud. There's no way right now to do that really easily. People have all kinds of creative solutions to play along to music on their guitar. Obviously, you can imagine walking around, the campfire, your cottage, at the park, everywhere that you would see an acoustic guitar. Now you can do that with an electric guitar. And again, there's no other amp on the market with a built-in interface. So regardless of its size, you can't just plug your phone into an amp and start using it for effects. So we're unique in that way as well. And as a bonus, it's also a super premium Bluetooth speaker. So from a value add perspective, you're looking to, if you're looking just to get into the guitar amplifier market, this is an amazing solution for you. But if you're already a professional and have lots of gear, there's a lot of things this can do that nothing else can as well. So I told you there's nothing else as fast. This is our competitive landscape. So there's nothing else as fast. There's nothing else that sounds good, period, at lower volumes. When you turn a large amp down, it doesn't sound like a quieter version of itself. It sounds choked and kind of muted, where this doesn't. We have a fully secured US patent that restricts anyone from essentially putting a speaker onto a stringed instrument, as well as using your smartphone for effects. And we can talk more about that if you're curious. So this is more of a visual slide, but there are a few amps on the market that are quote-unquote portable, but none of them allow you to use your smartphone, which is really the whole point. And most of them sound terrible as well. Okay. So yeah, I've talked about the patent market opportunity. So the amplifier market in North America is sizable. It's nearly $1 billion, which isn't gigantic, but you have to understand that there are communities all over the world that are very enthusiastic in guitar playing, as well as other instruments which will be able to benefit from this technology as well. And then, of course, the Bluetooth speaker market is huge. The Bluetooth speaker market's over $9 billion. So, there's a sizable chunk of that we can capture. We're also the only Bluetooth speaker that has a built-in, that has a significant attaching point. So there's a lot of fun things we can do with that also, with some accessories that are in development. Traction. So we have pre-sold almost $1 million Canadian as of today. Thank you. We did start off on crowdfunding. We transitioned from crowdfunding onto Shopify and just drove ads to Shopify, and have been able to do month after month after month. This has obviously hit a pain point for a lot of people that have been living this problem for a very long time. and our numbers speak for themselves. And we've been able to do that at a profitable customer acquisition cost. And of course, we're about to turn on next day shipping on December 6th, which is a very exciting milestone for us, of course, as well. And that will be very interesting to see how that goes. We have raised some money. We just closed a round of $800,000, which we were actually oversubscribed for. We are keeping ourselves open to taking in some more equity to be more aggressive with this Christmas launch, as well as industrial design on future products next year. So that's where our traction goes. We've got a great board of directors, which consists of Jeff Long of Long & McQuaid, Stephen Tapp of Stingray, which is like a Spotify music licensing service. The way we're going to operate is we're already, and it's very similar to how we're already operating, where we have a fulfillment center in Chicago that has software that plugs right into Shopify. All of that is automated. The shipments go directly from China to Shopify. Shipments go directly from China to Chicago and get fulfilled automatically. So we're extremely lean. It really just comes down to great marketing and keeping everyone really happy. One thing we're really excited to start doing is influencers. We haven't had product until the last couple weeks to ship to people, so we're just starting to shipping this to musicians of all kinds, both professionals or people with large Instagram and YouTube channels, which is going to be a huge another marketing arm for us in the future. Manufacturing, so I always get a lot of questions about the quality of the product and how did you get it to sound the way it does, and is this going to be something that people are stoked about when they receive it? And the answer is yes. I mean, they already are, but I've been to the factory several times. They make speakers for JVC and Philips, and they make the iHome. We were able to get in there through a relationship, so we were really happy to be working with them, and they've done a fantastic job for us so far. So the future. So we want to make a larger amplifier. It'll be the only other amplifier with a built-in digital interface. This will be instrument agnostic and will work with, for example, the piano really well, as well as the guitar, and work for performance settings and playing along to a drum kit, for example. And we'll have a lot of other benefits too for small home recording scenarios. Also, once we have, and I wish I could show you this, but we do want to get into the software game, and that's not necessarily competing with the existing effects apps that we have now. But once we have a large number of musicians of all kinds using their smartphones to plug right in, there's a lot of opportunities that come with that. So we want to create a collaborative space, social network for remixing and playing along to other people's music in a layered format, in a free-flowing way. And we're really excited. And some people are even more excited about that than they are about our hardware product. But both are necessary to work. But we want to kind of own both of those spaces. So we're a little bit unique in that way. But we're only in the wireframing of that right now. But we're really excited to get started with that too. So, and of course, we're going to make a bass version as well. Bass guitars are longer and heavier, so you can make a larger speaker, which sounds even better with the lower frequencies. We've got a great team. My background is in engineering and education, as well as, of course, I was a musician for a number of years. We've got, I mentioned our board of directors. We've also got a partnership with an industrial design firm downtown called Cortex Designs. They've been fantastic. We've got some great marketers on our team, as well as a really talented CFO and a really great advisory board consisting of some really smart people from both the music equipment space, the music space, the financing space. I mean, you wouldn't know their names, but we can talk about that in more detail. I've talked about the board. Like I mentioned, we just did close a round, but taking more money, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right, so Gary, do you want to start?
So good to see you again, Chris. You moved quickly. We saw you, it was just last month, wasn't it, at York?
A month and a half ago, I think.
Month and a half ago. So in a month and a half, these guys have already closed and oversubscribed their round. I'm not a shredder, but a singer, and so I know of a fellow that I practice with who got a mini amp about like this, and that's about as mini as you get. And so I talked to him about it. He said, "Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting." So I'm not surprised you've done the $1 million in sales. So I'm not too critical. I'm just the curiosity is just I think I already talked about it at York was what's stopping the guys that are making Bluetooth speakers and others to say, yeah, we can do that. I know you've got a patent there, but you've still got to be able to defend it. So that's the biggest thing, is how to defend. And my friend to the right knows about defending patents, so I'll leave it at that. So congrats, though.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Alfred, fire away.
First of all, love the fact that you've got a real pain point or problem here that you've addressed. Love the fact that you've gotten to $1 million in sales without even really accessing influencers, because that's going to just make it explode. I'm pretty excited about this. I think in the era when you've got young creatives who aren't getting the investment from the labels or the music industry or whatever, who are aspiring young musicians, this is the kind of product that's going to really, really take off. And I see it as having a big global market, plus, as you already suggested, other instrumental verticals where you can expand it. So I just want to say well done and go far.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. Cheers.
So, Chris, I'm not an expert like the other two on my panel, but I was texting with a few guitar players that I know of, and they were just all over this. So well done for picking an interesting pain point. I think it's a cool concept. What I did want to ask about, and you might have mentioned it, your cost of goods at this point and your selling price. Yeah. I don't think I fully got that. As well as you mentioned at the end, we're still taking more money. I'm not sure what that was, but you had mentioned you were oversubscribed in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So some clarification around that would be good. And the 1 million in orders to date, have you started shipping and delivering, or was that the December date that you were talking about?
No, we have started shipping and delivering. We have some more in the ocean right now. Okay. So yeah, those have been paid for and are on their way. That's what kind of the raise was for. Yeah, we're opening ourselves up for another 200K to get it to $1 million.
I see.
What's the pre-money on that?
3.8 million. Okay. And our cost, our factory cost is 87 US, but that'll go down significantly with volume.
Okay, great. Let's talk after.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, and your price is?
249 US,
okay.
Which is competitive just as a Bluetooth speaker, but you know.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any questions from the audience?
Yes. Hi. Do you guys have any plans to enter the sort of the education market, in the sense that I want to learn guitar, how to play guitar, with sort of competing to Rocksmith, that kind of thing?
So there's already a lot of great apps that are made much better by using an interface. So for example, Musician and UberChord try and listen through the microphone and help you become a better guitar player, but work a lot better when they are plugged directly in, because the ambient noise doesn't matter anymore. So in the software space, it's already amazing, but as far as schools go, private schools have acoustic guitar programs, because you can't have 24 or 30 kids playing electric guitar at the same time, which you can now. So we're really excited about that, and other music schools increasing their class sizes and being able to push lessons out to their smartphones, have them play along with headphones, unplugging their headphones to perform, and all of those kinds of things. And we're already working with at least one music school to do a pilot on that. So
brilliant.
Hi. Hi. Yeah, right in my mouth. Hi, great presentation. Congratulations on that. Anybody who knows me or seen me before knows how much I loathe hardware plays, and this might actually be the first one that I'm jacked about. This is like really fantastic.
Thank you.
A question about extensibility. Does that device have auxiliary outs or something if you wanted to sort of increase the sound of it, or really annoy parents in the next room, that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So just last week, I went to a rehearsal space that had a PA, and you might go to a coffee shop that has a PA. So all you need to use is the headphone jack. It's a high quality out. So you just have an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch, or an 8 inch to whatever. and you can export the sound that way, and that way you can get as loud as you want.
Great. And then taking it a step further, with regard to the extensibility, when you said you wanted to get into the software business, I'm thinking you're looking more along the lines of creating some type of platform that people can subscribe into, create a lot of universal collaboration, a lot of file sharing, and at the same time real-time sort of virtualizing bands and that sort of thing?
Right. It'll be a constant remixing of layers of where you have the right to literally mute or re-record or cut essentially a session, they call it, however you want, and just in a free-flowing stream. And then, of course, the great stuff rises at the top, the crap sinks to the bottom, and then people will come just to listen after a while.
Be very interested to talk to you about that, so I'll get your information.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Perfect. One more?
My question is the device used only for guitars or for other instruments could be used?
Good question. So this will amplify anything you plug into it. So we had electric violin using it the other day. And you can put an acoustic guitar, you can anything you want to. A lot of people will choose to play this off of their guitar. They'll just place it on the table. But it's designed to mount specifically to standard electric guitar bodies.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for that. Great presentation. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to sit down and do a one-on-one interview with Chris. I'm going to ask him a bunch of questions. We're going to talk a few things. So we're obviously interested to stay. You can provide the questions, as we mentioned, to the Twitter account. But first, I want to thank all of you for coming. Awesome. Thank you. And to you guys. And then, of course, to the panel advisors. You guys were awesome. Thank you very much for attending our first event in the Persian community. It's amazing. And thank you very much for that. So we'll take a minute just to get set up so Brian can move up some cameras, and we're going to do that one-on-one interview with Chris. And we thank you guys for coming out.